signal is not.
No matter how many times you've been to Venice, still you marvel at how enchantingly beautiful Venice is. After the lockdown, the view was even more precious. This video shows how I spent the first 3 days of the preview. This Biennale was always going to be a bit different. The Biennale was delayed 1 year by the pandemic, and it meant the first mass gathering of the art world in well over 2 years. But with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Biennale finds itself overcast by war's long shadow. When I arrived in Venice, the first show I walked into, it was a small shop-sized exhibition by a Ukrainian artist. It had a table with loaves of bread, but the breads were made of stone. Zana Kadyrova, the artist, calls the work palensia, which is bread, usually a staple of Ukrainian diet. She did these works after she fled with her family from her hometown, Kiev, to a temporary shelter. However, despite the grim prospect, one cannot hide the joy of seeing friends you haven't seen for 3 years. I met Christina and Jean-Francois for dinner. The following day, I woke up early to get to the Arsenale an hour earlier to beat the queue. I found Anda, who had the same thought as me. She's about to launch a great Korean festival at Coronet Theatre coming August. Various national pavilions are preparing for the press opening, so very quiet. Corresponding to the overall theme, Milk of Dreams, the Biennale as a whole is a fantastical post-humanist world of dreams with some optimism but mixed with dystopian ideas. This Biennale is divided into two venues, Arsenale and Giardini. Entering the Maltese pavilion may feel like moments of biblical firestorm, as drips of actual molten steel drop down into 7 square water tanks. You nod after reading how it represents figures in Caravaggio's the beheading of Saint John the Baptist. The Italian pavilion asked, "What is the future of humans?" It is at the far end of Arsenale, but I went there first as I was curious to find out how it looked. The first time it was given to a single artist, Gian Maria Tossati. It usually features multiple artists simply because it has a vast space, 2,000 square meters. In a series of rooms, viewers walk into a nearly too realistic reconstruction of warehouses, forming an immersive exploration of industrial Italy's rise and fall. It may be a metaphor for human relations with surroundings. From warehouse littered with tools, disused machinery, sewing machines, watchtower and tables, viewers enter darker space, eventually arriving at what looked like a rusty dock lit with LEDs, imitating natural light. Curated by Monica Bello, head of arts at CERN, staged the work as a split-screen installation featuring a 6-meter tall vertical projection is Icelandic Pavilion. The artist filmed metal dust scattering and gathering around the magnet. It is turned into mesmerizing imagery of the metal fragments, and its auto-speed, color, and direction add to the soundscape. The soundscape also accompanies the finished imagery. It is the amplified, immersive projection that is magnetic and interplanetary. My favorite room of the Arsenale was the striking room of the central exhibition by Precious Okoyoman. It is entitled To See the Earth Before the End of the World. Viewers enter the constructed landscape of living plants like kudzu and sugarcane, dotted with figure sculptures made of wool, yarn, and mud that seem to sprout up from the earth itself. I love The Parents' Room by Diego Marcon. It is masterfully shot on 35mm film and soundtracked by an original musical score composed by Federico Chiari and recorded at London's Trinity School of Music. It is a mix of musical cinema, a bit of horror, slapstick comedy, musicals, and cartoons. USA Pavilion won the Golden Lion, the most prestigious award. Now you should move into Giardini, where 29 pavilions of different countries exist with the Central Pavilion. The Central Pavilion has the theme exhibition curated by the artistic director of the Biennale, this time Cecilia Alemani. I know the artist Kim Yun-chul, but seeing him again in Venice was extraordinary. He has achieved such outstanding works despite all the dramas and difficulties. I was amazed to see how the artist transformed the Korean pavilion with 5 large-scale kinetic sculptures and a site-specific word drawings. Here is the title, and the pavilion is its living word on its own. There are the swollen suns, paths of gods, and the great outdoors. Another favorite of many people was the French pavilion. Zineb Sedira is a French-Algerian artist, and in this pavilion you first see a 1960s style bar. The entire pavilion has been arranged like a series of studio interiors in a film shoot. Screening in a room behind the bar is based on the first film made in newly independent Algeria in 1964, Le Mans Libre. This year represents the 60th anniversary when Algeria became independent from France. Here are some highlights from the Venice Biennale. I have only covered Giardini and Arsenale, but please explore cultural and museum exhibitions. The Biennale is open till the end of November this year, as many of the exhibitions will be.